Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Houston Sports Talk back in the video today. And today, the Milwaukee Bucks point guard Damian Lillard is headed back to the Portland Trail Blazers. Damian Lillard is signing a 3-year, $42 million deal with his former team, the Portland Trail Blazers. And the 9-time All-Star and 7-time All-NBA will return to the team where he was a 7-time All-Star. He's been an All-Star the last 2 seasons in Milwaukee, was a 7-time All-Star in his 11 seasons in Portland. Also, I will add, sure, he was good. He's pretty solid the last couple of years, but not all NBA in the last 2 years. So it was a 7-time All NBA in his 11th season as well in Portland. Had a couple seasons where he was in the MVP conversations. Had 1 year where he was in the top 4 in voting. And just had some great years. His last year in Portland was the best one of all of them, 32 points per game in the 2022-23 season, averaging also 7 assists per game with almost 5 rebounds per game. He's a great three-point shooter as well. We know he's one of the best players ever to shoot the basketball, 37% from 3 in his career, but it's more of the totals Dame time has knocked down in his career. Dame in his career has knocked almost 3,000 threes. He's less than 200 threes away from 3,000. And so that is another big part with Damian Lillard of his three-point shooting, his great scoring, and now he's going back to Portland. And it's very interesting. No trade clause as well for Lillard in this deal. He becomes the second player in the league to have a no trade clause, joining LeBron James. Bradley Beal obviously was on this list, but his contract got bought out yesterday. And so Beal is no longer on a no trade clause. And so Damian Lillard is the second player now to be on that no trade clause. Anybody wondering if they're wondering that this is a bad deal because it's the no trade clause, or they're wondering if it's a bad deal because the Blazers giving Dame a no trade clause, I believe not, and this is why I say this. A big part of the problem with Bradley Beal with the trade, when they traded Bradley Beal, was more teams didn't want him because of his contract. This is not a bad deal. This is $14 million a year for Damian Lillard, the 9-time All-Star and 7-time All-NBA. I know in these last 2 seasons, he's taken a little bit of a step back, averaging 24 and 25 in the last 2 seasons since leaving Portland. But, it's not the couple seasons we saw before. Like, we saw 32 points per game in the 22-23 season, 29 points per game in the 2021 season, 30 points per game in the 2019-20 season. It's not what we saw the last 3 or 4 seasons in Portland, sure. But let's also remember, he's gotten a little bit older, that's one thing. But number 2, of course his numbers are going to go down when he's playing next to Giannis Antetokounmpo. Of course they are. He's never played next to a player in his career that is that good. Look, he's played with some really solid players in his career in Portland. C.J. McCollum. There have been some others that have been really, he's had some really solid players in his career played next to him, but there's nobody close to Giannis of what he is. So, of course, the numbers are going to go down, and I know he might go down a little bit with this injury he just had, coming back from the injury, but as well, I think he should be able to produce enough where you're saying, oh, yeah, this guy's worth $14 million a season. Let's just say, maybe Portland tries to, and honestly, this is what I will say, like, I don't think the no trade clause I don't think will really be that much impactful, because look, it's a 3-year deal. There's another reason, not only the fact that he's not making that much money for his skill, but also it's a 3-year deal. The first year he's not going to play most of the year. He might play at the end of the season, but if they're not in contention, I don't think he's going to play. I think good chance Lillard probably doesn't play this year with Portland. So the first year doesn't matter. They're not going to try to trade a guy that's not healthy. That's one of their best franchise players of their history. They're gonna want him to suit up again as a Blazer. So second season, there's 2 seasons left on that deal, $28 million remaining on that deal. I would think they'd try to have Dame play another full season in Portland in the 2026-27 season, I believe it would be. Am I right? Yeah, it would be the 2026-27 season, because next year's 25-26. But then I look at the 2027-28 season, and that's the year maybe Portland might try to move off him. Who knows? But we'll see if they try to let this contract play out. I think they'll let the contract play out. And the reason I say this is because I think Lillard probably wants to retire as a Blazer. He just turned 35 the other day. Happy early birthday, Lillard. But just turned 35. And by the time this contract is up in 3 years, he'll be 38. And I think before this injury that he just suffered, I would say maybe he could play till 39, 40 years old. But we all know torn Achilles can take someone down. It can. I don't think it's going to make Lillard a worse player. I think he's going to come back from this nicely and help Portland. But it definitely slows someone down. And I think that this is the last NBA contract Damian Lillard gets. I think this is it for Lillard. I think when this contract is up, once he's 38 years old and he's still with the Portland Trail Blazers, he's going to retire as a Blazer. Like it doesn't seem like there's any other way for him to end his career besides with the Blazers. But the one question I will get into is look at all the guard talent in this Blazers team. What happens with the guard talent? Jrue Holiday they just traded for Jrue Holiday and the Anthony Simons trade. They just drafted Scoot Henderson a couple years ago. And he wasn't on the team when Damian Lillard was on their team. Damian Lillard's first year in Milwaukee was last year. Scoot Henderson's first year in Portland was last year. So, and then they've got Sharp, who did play with Lillard one season, but Sharp is more of a two guard. But what I am concerned about is Holiday and Scoot Henderson. What happens with those two guys? Holiday has a lot remaining on his deal. Do they potentially try to trade Holiday? I don't think it's something you worry about. I don't think with Holiday and Henderson, it's not something you worry about right now because Lillard's probably going to still miss next season. So Holiday is that guy next year. But if you're Holiday, I think you've got to be pissed what's going on. I know he was pissed that he was traded to Portland in the first place, and he was really mad that he ended up getting sent there. Was mad at the Celtics for that. There were some reports about that. And now they pick up Lillard. Honestly, I think it might be one season, and then that's it for Jrue Holiday. That's my prediction. My prediction is Jrue Holiday either gets traded at the trade deadline and they let Scoot Henderson take control into the season, and then Lillard comes back the next year in the 2026-27 season, or during the offseason next year, a year from now, the Blazers trade Jrue Holiday is my prediction. Let me know your thoughts on the signing for the Portland Trail Blazers, bringing back one of their franchise legend, Damian Lillard, to a $3 or $42 million deal. That's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and peace out.